I want to talk about the fact that you do record books on tape. What do you think is the end result of an audio recording like this with words to a listener?
I think the best thing when I listen to the books that I've done is to sustain the thought to the end of the sentence, because often when you're reading a book on tape, you're reading ahead all the time. You get in the habit because but to sustain it through, because you can tend to the end of the line, and then you have to restart yourself, and then because you don't finish the thought. So that's the thing that I am aware of the most. And when I'm listening to them in my car or something, I stay interested when the voice keeps sustaining me into the next and the next and the next, as opposed to finishing it and ending it again and again. And then you just kind of get into this place of like, okay, I can't listen to this anymore.
And what about for an audience? What do you think are the pleasures that someone derives from listening to something on tape or CD as opposed to seeing something visual?
Well, I think it's in between actually reading the book or watching the movie, because it's being read to you, but you still have the freedom to imagine the character as you would, if the person is fat or skinny or tall or mean or scary looking, as opposed to, oh, it's Tom Hanks. So I think it's a little bit in between those two worlds. When you actually read it, you have everything is up to you. When it's read to you, there's a little bit of a tinge of, because you might recognize a voice and image someone this way, or, I might put an accent, make someone a New Yorker or a Texan, and that might pre-associate something else. But you still have the opportunity to free associate and think about, oh, this is, you create your own imaginary world listening to it. And it makes the time go so fast.
It sure does.
It's a great way. I mean, if you live in Los Angeles, or my dad and his wife just went on a road trip all around the country, and I do a lot of Ken Burns stuff, and his stuff also is so, even though he usually has visuals, it's very audio driven, in terms of listening to the voices, and he has a really good ear about exactly what he wants this voice to sound like, and the level of emotion or non-emotion, or,
And tell me why you picked this particular poem that we read today.
Well, I realize I haven't read poetry since I went to, in college and a little bit post-college. And then once I got into my own life and working and children, so I picked up this book that I had bought in college, and I read all the ones I had marked back in college. And I have little scribbles of notes. And on this one, I just wrote death, why, ? And I thought, well, and so it was mainly just going back into my youth and thinking about, the poets that I loved back when I was growing up. And when you're in school, you read so much. I read a lot of poetry when I was in school and in acting school and everything, but less as time goes whizzing by.
There you go. Well, fantastic. Just one more thing. I'd like you to look in the camera and just say the word poetry.
Poetry.
And we are done.